सहना भवतु सहनो भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ओम शांति 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 समस्त जन कल्याणी निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्म विद्वरम् First of all, I do not have any evidence of, in my personal study of knowing seventh month, etc., where the so-called soul entering the body. So let us leave that aside. Sukshma Sharira is the soul. The mind-body complex is that which is the experiencer even when you are awake. The body, the senses are only external tools for the mind to experience the world. None of them can function without the presence of consciousness, which is life. And that life, when it expresses as an individual, it is called a soul or jiva. For example, the sunlight is everywhere, but only in a reflecting media, it will express its light. Other places, it is only the light of the sun, which is seen, because of which everything is seen. But reflection takes place only in a reflecting media. In the same way, by nature, consciousness is Sat, existence. And the mind and intellect equipment is capable of reflecting consciousness, and therefore it becomes Chit. Chit means being aware. So among the three aspects of consciousness or the Paramatma, Sat is existence, Chit is reflection, or otherwise known as consciousness reflected. And that is the reason why a jiva is also referred as Chidabhasa. Chid Abhasa. Abhasa means reflection. Chitehe abhasatvat, therefore Chidabhasaha iti katyate. It's a reflection of consciousness taking place in the manaha and buddhi. And this Chid Abhasa is capable of thinking. And therefore Sukshma Sharira is the thinking tool. So consciousness, which is of the nature of Sat, Chit and Ananda, Sat is everywhere, equally present. Chit is only in the reflecting medias through which it expresses. And Ananda is in the Vijñānamaya Kosha of all beings, which is experienced in deep sleep and in Samadhi. So when it is said that the birth takes place, the movement is not of consciousness, it is only Sukshma Sharira. It is a Sukshma Sharira which is leaving one body and coming to the another body. And this subtle body is said to be entering into the womb of the mother and becoming the individual. And it starts to express through with the help of the consciousness, its reflecting ability, and because of which it starts to think and becomes an individual thinker. Is that clear? The all-pervading nature of the self is, this is established. It doesn't go anywhere. It is no birth, it is no death. न जायते म्रियते वा कदाचित् नायं भूत्वा न भविता न कश्चित् अजो नित्य शाश्वतोऽयं पुराणः न हन्यते हन्यमाने शरीरे. Gita says that. It is no birth, no death, it is always there. And even if the body is killed, it doesn't get killed because it is an all-pervading reality. Just like space. And Chit is, on the other hand, is also the nature of the self, but expresses only in a reflecting media. That's why even a physical matter thing, like any object, is also having such Swarupa of Brahma. There's no doubt about that. Because existence is common in all things. But Chit Swarupa of Atman is only available on a reflecting media called the Sukshma Sharir. When Sukshma Sharir is absent, that thing is considered as inert. And when a Sukshma Sharira is present, then that thing is called alive. A plant is alive, the stone is not. So, therefore, the Sukshma Sharira must be present. In whichever degree it is present, even a very low level of the Sukshma Sharira is found in the plant. Little higher level are found in birds and animals or insects, etc. Further higher level is found to be in human beings. So therefore, according to the level of intensity of the mind and intellect equipment, Sukshma Sharira, so will be the ability to reflect. At the highest level, Devatas and Rishis, they have crossed over the human conditions, and therefore their level of thinking is much higher, their reflection of consciousness is much higher. The Sukshma Sharira is not formed during the time of conception, correct? It is not.
Exact timing he says.
Okay.
It comes, it enters. It's the Sukshma Sharira.
Okay.
Sometimes.
Only the body is formed by the food eaten by the mother and the father. Conception is not the birth of the jiva. No. Conception is only the physical formation takes place. And then once it is mature enough, then the jiva enters into the body.
All of us that we
are supporting abortion.
yeah, the discussion that we had, or the question that we had at the time was, it is the jiva which has the jnana. Then how is till the 7th month the baby is growing? How does the baby the womb inside the womb has the intelligence to grow?
A mother is supporting.
Okay.
It's like a part of the mother.
Okay.
It doesn't have independent existence. It independently doesn't do anything. Until the jiva enters the physical body of the child means that the thing is still entirely depends upon the mother's body growing, and all the development takes place. And once the jiva enters, or the Sukshma Sharira enters into that, then it will start independently into becoming. So then there is the urge to get out. And then only the delivery takes place. Yeah, so by nature, basically, there are no two different things. It is the category of the thoughts. An ambiguous thought or set of ambiguous thoughts make the mind. Definitive, firm thoughts make the intellect. It is not two different entities, really speaking. It's the quality of thoughts that are there in the person. If the quality of thoughts are mostly indecisive, unsure, that's why it's called Sankalpa Vikalpatmakam Manaha. Not clear about what one wants or what one needs. It's always constantly fickle. And such nature of the vritti, thought, is referred as mind. Nischayatmika buddhihi, where the vritti is, the thought is of the nature of decisiveness. This is what it is. It can be wrong also. It is not necessarily buddhi means positive. Buddhi is that which takes decisions irrespective of whether it's correct or wrong. So that decisive nature of the thought is referred as buddhi. Okay. So even mind takes decisions, but that decision is always questionable. Whereas buddhi takes decision, it doesn't go back and question it. So many times buddhi, when it takes decision based upon the available information, the available information is wrong, still the buddhi can take the decision. That doesn't mean buddhi is always right. On the other hand, mind, even if it is even if it is indecisive, but the given information is correct, while it is still deliberating upon this way or the other way, it takes some decisions. So that is, but it is still having a doubt about it. Therefore, it is called mind. Correct. Always our decisions are decided by the vasanas only, because it is vasana that is pushing us forward to do anything and to enjoy anything, experience anything, etc. While the only antidote for vasanas is the reflected knowledge. So buddhi can engage in vichara and reflect on certain inputs that have been received through study, etc. And then based upon that, it can take a decision based upon the information available instead of vasanas. In which case, buddhi is said to be superior, while mind does not have the ability to overpower vasanas. It cannot overthrow vasanas. It is much more submissive. And therefore, mind is more influenced by vasanas than intellect. So any of these viveka subject, Panchakosha viveka, is only to understand that these Panchakoshas are not anything to do with Atman. Right? So this differentiation between the Panchakoshas are necessary for us to understand how the human personality works. But that by itself does not lead us to the knowledge of Atman. Okay. So it is like a thing which is said to be mistaken to be something else needs to be understood in its own nature. In the Atma Anatma Viveka, in the differentiation between the self and the not self, it is one thing to understand the limitations of the not self, but by itself does not teach us the greatness of the self. So therefore, the methodology used in Vedanta is Anvaya and Vyatireka. Anvaya means assertion of the nature of the self. Vyatireka means disassociation, declining or denying the nature of the not self. So, today I was just talking on chapter 16 of Bhagavad Gita. Gurudev writes there very clearly, it is one thing to avoid bad food, which greasy, fatty, sugar, and then other things. But at another to choose what is that what you want to eat. But denial or removal of the unwanted food does not mean you have eaten. See? So you need to eat something positively. In the same way, denial and removal of the anatma, this is what being done through Panchakosha Viveka. This is not me. This is Annamaya Kosha na aham. Pranamaya Kosha na aham. Manomaya Kosha tata buddhi Vijñānamaya Kosha, Anandamaya Kosha api na aham. That is denied. It is not me. Then who am I? Koham. What am I then? Aham Atma. Atma Satchidananda Swarupa. That assertion of my true nature also needs to take place. So Panchakosha Viveka, the very purpose of it is to know and reject it. Reject it means do not give too much importance to that. What is to be given up? What is to be seen as not me? Then only it will lead to the query of who am I then? If Panchakosha Viveka is not done, we will take ourselves to be one of those, or all of those, or few of those. I may not be the body, but I am the mind and prana. We will take up to that. Oh, yeah, I'm not the prana and mind, but I may be buddhi. And also, when it comes to Buddhist literature, none of this I am, and I'm nobody. You see, that also will come to that point. I'm nobody. You know, if none of the five are me, then who am I? Nobody. It will become shunya. So that also should not happen. So you should know that you are not any one of these five, but you are positively the Swarupa Paramatma. You are positively the self, Satchidananda Rupa Atma. So that needs to be asserted. That is called Anvaya. So in our practical world, what we need to understand is that when a situation, an experience takes place in our life, which affects one of the five, either the body or the prana or the mind and the intellect or Annamaya Kosha, understand where it belongs to and leave it there. And don't take it to the next level. So let us say, if I am physically hurt, I should not emotionally get disturbed by that. What we do is, when we are physically hurt, we get angry, upset. Why? Because you are moving it to the next level. Let us say, if my hand, my finger, by mistake, has poked into my eyes. Now, when physically I am hurt, and my hand only did that, so will I punish my hand? Punish my finger? No, because it is me. This is also me only. So I would forgive it very graciously. Finger, I forgive you. Why? Because this is me too. Right? So I'm able to withstand the physical hurt, knowing that I need not have to take it too seriously. But what we do is, when something physically happens to us, we start to agitate all other layers also. So one should know that where to stop it. Let us say somebody had said something. Let us say your son or a daughter, your wife or husband. Somebody said something which out of anger, out of turn they spoke, out of anger they spoke. Now, at that moment, what we do, we immediately shout back, react, etc. This is the nature of the moment. So when you look at from the Buddhist angle, they say, see, this one, my husband or wife or whoever, it's after all, it's my family. One maybe somebody, because she may be upset about something, therefore she said that. It doesn't mean that I should hurt her back. So when the Buddhi comes to recognize that this is a forgivable act or forgivable behavior, then at once we stop there. We don't create a revenge and revengefulness and vengeance. If she says something else, oh, go to her back. See, what happens is then the Buddhi is getting polluted. You make a decision for tomorrow or the future, and it will definitely come back. whatever decision you take in that kind of a situation will 2 days back, you will shout and say, this is because you did that another. So then it's not only become hysterical, but it becomes historical. So we must, when you analyze these things, you should understand that all of them is anatma. So at one level, it is gross, another level, it is subtle. But those who are pursuing the path of Atma Jnana, those who want to live and assert their nature as the self, will give least importance to any one of the things that happens in Panchakosha. That is not their field of interest. It is like when you go to a shop and want to buy something, and when you are going towards that aisle to buy, and there are so many other things are there for sale, Black Friday sale. So if you are very alert, let me first finish for what I came. Let me finish that, and later on, if I have time and if I need it, then I go for that. Instead of that, if you spend more time in the Black Friday sale, and then for the very purpose for which you came to the shop will be lost. In the same way, when our pursuit is towards knowing the self, also when we come to know the nature of the anatma, it is for us to understand and leave it aside, not to take it seriously. So that is the reason Panchakosha Viveka, Shariratraya Viveka, Drisha Viveka, Avastatraya Viveka, all these are all spoken only for us to know that these are all to be understood and discarded. Because our buddhi doesn't discard unless it is given proper reasoning. We are given that scientific reasoning, and therefore we need to be explained what it is, how it is, why it's functioning, why it is functioning in this way or not the other way. All that are only for us to get convinced. That is why.
And how do we practice?
Gurudev also explains that very clearly. That let us say fire is used for cooking. It doesn't mean that you have to go and touch the fire. Right? That is the right contact. I know fire is important for my cooking. Doesn't mean every day go and touch the fire. No, I know how much I have to use, or for what I need to use, and what I should not do. Similarly, this physical body is also available for us for effectively functioning in this world. Do not deny the role of the body in your daily life, where it is efficiently working inside within which you don't know how efficiently your body is taking care of all that junk that you put in your body, and making sure that you don't fall sick so easily. So the physical body has got its own intelligence, and it's working on it. And how do you treat your body? That is also right contact. Similarly, you have your own mind, and mind is useful to bring out beautiful emotions and feelings and accommodate others in your life, sharing your thoughts and experiences, feelings, etc. So that also need to be handled very carefully. The mind can be handled unintelligently also. So everything that we come to use in this world must be handled with great care. Our speech, for example. Yes, speech is an effective communication tool. But when you do not know how to speak properly, in proper place, with proper words, then you are losing the right contact. You are not usually applying it. So everything in this world must be carefully understood and made use of. The unintelligent way of living is misusing it, abusing it. So that's why it is said, art of right contact. In Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan Krishna says, Indriyani indriyarteshu vartante iti dharayan buddhiman. A man of intelligence would know that sense organs are in touch with sense objects. Okay, their nature is that if I have eyes, the nature of eyes is to look at the forms, shapes, colors. It cannot do the job of a nose. The nose job is to only to understand the flavors or the smell. So each one of them have their own field of activity. And those field of activities only they can function, they cannot function anywhere else. So when a person lives in this world, allowing the sense organs to experience the world, no doubt, but do not take them to be real. That is the right context. If you take one to be real, then you will be caught in the whirlpool of that. Just because eyes are able to see does not mean whatever it says is true, or whatever it says is true. That is wrong. Right? In today's world, virtual reality. You're seeing them. So when even though you're seeing, if you don't know that it's a virtual, you may think that is real. Then there's a problem. Then such people who are living in the virtual reality, when they come to this world, they will think this is not real. That's what happens to children, right? When they're playing games, etc., they cannot stay in touch with reality. Or people who have some issues, they think they create their own world and their mind, and they think that is real. And they cannot deal with the daily situations. So, right to contact means wherever, whatever is, only to that extent you must give importance to it. Beyond that, don't take it. First and foremost thing is, why do we give so much importance to others' opinion? I don't understand. Why do you think whatever others say is true? Not necessary. If it is coming from the right source, with a person of knowledge, you take it. You don't need to take everybody's word as true. If you're walking in the road and somebody calls you fool, will you get upset? Then you'll be really fool. And he's right. Hey, fool, you turn around. Then whose problem is that? So if you are convinced about what you're doing, it doesn't matter, whoever says. Men of wisdom are those who do not worry about what others think, because they are clear about what they do. So many, Gurudev, etc. Gurudev, when he started off giving lectures to the public, how many people opposed him? Burnt the place where he was giving lecture. I was said, okay, that's your problem. You cannot tolerate, it's not my issue. So they proceeded on with their conviction. So when you are passionate about something, when you are clear about that, do not wait for others to agree with you. No need. But make sure that what you have as a source of information is correct. Not blindly. Passionate does not mean blindly following some whims and fancies of your mind. No, I'm passionate because I'm convinced this is the right thing to do. With the right information I've got. If it is wrong, I will eventually fail and I will come to know about it. So do not wait for others to approve for everything that you do. So do not give too much of importance to others' opinion. Whereas it's a collective endeavor, a group is supposed to do and accomplish the job, then you need a participation of all the people involved in that. No doubt about that, because that is a group dynamism. You must make sure that you communicate properly what is objective and purpose. Once the purpose is clear, and even if you people object to it, you say, okay, we will take into consideration, but let us go ahead with it. But if you wait for everybody to approve, it is like waiting for the waves to cease in the ocean before you get into the water. Never will happen. Waves never subside for you to go.
The organs of the body.
No, it is Pranamaya Kosha. That's what it does. So,
Yeah.
the Prana Sharira is the one which is called energy field.
Okay.
The energy field is the one which is working with the movement of which is working to make sure that every part of the body is energized through the blood vessels, etc. So, Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, Samana, iti Panchavidanaha, Pranaha. So, these 5 different kinds of pranas are making sure that the function of the body with respect to distribution of energy, etc., are taken care. It has nothing to do with the mind, because mind doesn't decide all these things. Even if the mind is not there, meaning when the mind is at sleep, still the activity goes on. So that means the intellect and mind are not involved in the movement of the blood vessels, movement of the blood, or what you are taking, cellular, the changes, etc. It is happening at the prana level. On the other hand, if the prana is absent, or prana is reduced, even if the mind is also there, if the prana is not there to the extent it is needed, then the circulation, etc., would not take place. Because the prana's activity is curtailed.
So my question is remaining that what is subtle body then? What we can
Subtle body is only antakaranani.
Okay.
So subtle body includes the mind, intellect, okay, ahankara and chittam, which is ego and memory. Okay, these four of them. Along with that, you have the faculties of eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. Not the physical eyes, ears, etc. Not
Okay.
the ability. It also includes speech, hand, leg, reproductive organ, and anus. The ability, the functionality. Plus, it is also inclusive of the pranas, 5 pranas. But it is not that mind or intellect are controlling it. They are all acting independently. For example, the prana has to be present for the other 10 sense organs to actively engage. If prana is reduced, your seeing, hearing, tasting, smelling, touching, walking, talking, reproductive, and anus, on all of them will reduce their intensity. So they are interconnected but not commanding each other. They are independently working. So your pranas are independently working. They are not under the control of Sukshma Sharira, though they are in the bracket of Sukshma Sharira.
Okay. So it means it is always in the gross body, in our gross body.
It is connected to gross body also.
It is connected to the gross body. If Antakaran is the subtle body, then what is that causal body?
Antakarana plus pancha pranaha plus pancha karmendriyani plus pancha karmendriyani. Jnanendriyani, karmendriyani, pancha pranaha, chaturvida antakaranas. These together constitute 15 plus 5, 20, no, 10 plus 5, 15 plus 4, 19 of them together plus, so these 19 of them together is called a subtle body. But as I said, they are not, they are interacting with each other, but not controlling each other.
Okay, they are independent.
They are independent.
Okay, then next question is for the causal body. The causal body is like our feelings and emotion of the body, which acts depending upon our observations. This is not having any shape or so. Is it that true? What my conception is there? Is this emotion and feelings our causal body, or is it different things?
Causal body is only deep-rooted impressions. They are not feelings. They are
Okay.
deep-rooted impressions recorded and kept. The causal body does not engage in anything directly. It is engaging, the desires and impressions will manifest only in the form of thoughts when through the mind. They cannot independently come out. Vasanas require the mind to express. So the person may be born with a lot of vasanas, but if the circumstances in which he is growing is not favorable for those to come out, that person will not have the expression of those vasanas. Like for example, if a child is born, the child has deep-rooted impressions coming from the previous birth, but it won't express unless the mind is developed enough to express that. Is that clear?
No, actually, I am
The
got.
subtle body expresses the causal body.
And subtle body expresses the causal body. It is in the form of our thoughts.
It comes in the form of thoughts, correct.
That thoughts will have the emotion and the feelings. So, can we not say that emotion and feelings is reproduced by the thoughts, what we thought? And these thoughts will be developed when the matureness is coming, depending upon the nature and the matureness of the body. See, is that okay?
Correct, you're right.
But
So
yeah,
the causal body does not directly come out, it is only expressing through the mind, correct, thoughts.
so whether it reflects our next birth, the causal body reflects our next birth. When we are thinking bad or we are doing good, so it is a representation of our soul for the next birth. Is it okay for that?
The next birth is not decided merely by the vasanas by itself. It's also decided by jnanam, the knowledge that you have got. Because jnanam can surpass the vasanas. Because it can supersede it. That is the reason why we are studying, right? Vasanas by themselves can dictate terms. Then we
Yeah.
have no control over them. There is no free will. So our knowledge can supersede the vasanas. That's
Our
why
knowledge
somebody
can supersede the vasana. It means we can change our causal body in the present state by with the help of the knowledge. Okay, thank you.
we can replace the old vasanas with something different so that those vasanas will not anymore repeat or decide our future.
Okay.
Study of scriptures must be taken with a lot of faith because the subject matter of the scripture is not our daily knowledge of the profession. You see, somebody may be a medical, somebody may be lawyer, somebody may be journalist, somebody may be software, somebody mechanical, somebody may be an artist or a painter or a singer, whatever. When we study scriptures, which is about a subject which we do not come across during our daily routine of things, we need to have some amount of shraddha, faith in what is said in the Shastra. Because the subject matter is about ourselves, our own betterment, whichever be the profession one is in. And therefore, it is necessary that the faith in the scriptures and what is said to be taken in and convert that knowledge for the practice in individual's life. It cannot be, everybody cannot be using it in the same way. So one has to reflect on it. Okay, I learned this today. Now, how do I, when I'm going back to my work, how do I convert that into my practice? Only when you make it as your practice, it will be helpful to you. So first to take it with faith. And faith does not mean don't question it, not that way, not the blind faith. Faith means where you test it yourself. Do not delete or not delete, ignore it just because it is talking about the subject matter which you are not familiar with. All of us learned whatever we learned with certain amount of faith. Without that, knowledge would not have taken place. When you enter into new field of knowledge, whatever it is, you have a faith that, okay, I can do something about it. Then only proceeded. So also here, with certain amount of faith in the scriptures and the gurus who are able to explain that to us, we take it in, and the individual has to reflect on it and see how I can make it a practical thing to my life. Then only you will see the growth. Study should be necessarily practiced, otherwise it will have no effect on you. So coming together is good for you to understand and different viewpoints, different ways of looking at the subject matter, but don't lose the faith on the subject. Just because by arguing you are able to disprove it, does not mean you won it. Logic can be crooked logic also, by which you can win an argument, but the truth in the process, truth is compromised. So because truth is not logical, truth is factual. The fact need not be logical. The fact is a fact. Fire is hot. Is it a logical conclusion? It's a fact, whether you like it or not. So in the same way, Paramatma is my nature. Atma is of the nature of the realities of the nature of Satchidananda. It's not a logical conclusion. It's a factual thing. You can prove a logic to understand. That's all. So one has to proceed with that Shraddha and make use of it in whichever way you can in your own life. Coming together is necessary for us to understand the subject matter with greater clarity, because the different viewpoints will make it more easy to comprehend. And again, when you're having study group, avoid argumentations. As much as possible, do not argue. Try to prove oneself over the other. No, it's not very good. Understanding. So that is called Vada, Pradivada, and Kutarka. Vada is argumentation. Argumentation for the purpose of trying to know. Samvada is where he mutually interested to understand the truth. So conversation. There, whereas Kutarka is trying to prove others wrong. So Kutarka is very dangerous. Samvada is the best. Vada is to make sure that each one of them have their own point of view, but the point of view does not mean that my point is better than yours. It is only to make it a little more clear. Okay.